The playoff cutoff line is now at P2 in the point standings with Ryan Blaney, while P4, Martin Truex Jr. is out of the playoffs with 3 regular season races remaining. Spot on, spot off, Brett.
I'm spot on for the drama. You know, like you look at this format, which we call it win and you're in. Hey, that may not be the case. You might win and be out.
It might be.
The way this is playing out, right? If we see 2 more winners in the next 3 races, which is likely. I hate to say it's likely, but it's likely. We've got 3 wild card races coming up. 2 wild card races with Watkins Glen and Daytona. But, man, Richmond is a really good racetrack for Martin Truex. Here's going to be the thing that plays out. Here's going to be the interesting thing. Ryan Blaney is sitting there with a target on his back. Obviously, he wants to go out and win the race. But he also needs to stay ahead of Martin Truex Jr. in points, and there's not that many points between them. So when you look at that gap and that stage is getting ready to end and you're Ryan Blaney's crew chief and you want to call the race to win it, you got to have in the back of your mind that you got to beat Martin Truex in points. And then you also got to hope that somebody else doesn't win it. So it's really going to come down to a hell of a lot of drama. You know, people are like, man, this ain't right, Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney is second in the point standings. He is 16th, as of right now, in the playoff standings. Holy cow. I mean, but that's what this created. People are like, oh, well, you can't lose. You know, if he's second in points, he deserves to get in the playoff. No, that's not the rules to which we all signed up for when we agreed to go race full-time in the Cup Series this year. That ain't what the crew chiefs agreed to. That ain't what the drivers agreed to. It ain't what the spotters agreed to. It's not even what the sponsors agreed to. You know the rules. You know what it takes to get in. Do not change these rules and let a guy in that doesn't belong to be in. I personally think Truex is in a little bit of a better position than Ryan Blaney is.
Yeah. Why?
Because he can call his race based on what Blaney does. Now, if he's ahead of Blaney on the racetrack, it changes a little bit. But if I'm Martin Truex, I'm calling this race to win it. If I'm Ryan Blaney, I got to keep in the back of my mind how many points Martin Truex is behind me.
I think the 19's had more speed than the 12 lately, but the 12 has done a better job at managing their races. And like I've seen 2 or 3 races where Martin was outrunning him by 10 spots all day long, and Blaney ended up finishing in front of him. You know, there was a couple where I think it was Nashville when they pit late.
Yeah.
Right now it's 19 points.
19 points.
19 points is the gap. And this is kind of multi-sided because not only you're obviously battling to get in the playoffs, right? But you're also battling for second in points. And second in points is 10 playoff points. So these guys, like you talked about Blaney being 5th or 16th in points right now, whoever gets that second place is going to vault up into the top 5 in that playoff grid. So you're essentially going from Truex, who's out. I think he's got 7 playoff points right now. Blaney's got 5. Once they get added 10 plus whatever they get here in the next couple of weeks, they're going to vault up. I think the guys in 3rd and 4th right now have like 12 points. You know, they're going to vault up ahead of them or right around them in points. So you're talking about going from 17th or 16th or out to back into the top 5 on the grid. But I'm telling you right now, this Daytona race, like you said, I personally think Truex can easily win this week. We've seen him be really good at Richmond before. Obviously, the Toyota's got really good speed right now. So this could be a race where, you might see that 16th winner. But, it's just that Daytona race is going to be wild. And going back to Bubba, the run we've had here the last month, he's put himself in a position now. Like 2 months ago, if we won a race, it almost didn't matter because we were so far behind all the guys in points that we were going to be the last guy in points, and a win wasn't really going to do nothing for us. This run has put him in the position where now we're ahead of Kurt, we're right behind some of the other guys, and now if we win, we're in. Even if there's 17 winners, we win, we'll be in. So just how much the points matter. People say this time points don't really matter, and the stage points don't matter for some of these guys, but every point counts at all times. And if we go to Daytona and these guys are 10, 15 points apart, Truex and Blaney without a win, what a wild race that's going to be.
I really honestly think it's going to get down to that. I mean, Martin's got a good shot this weekend, but winning's hard. Winning's super hard, and things have to go your way the whole race, really, to get these wins. And I could see Martin making up some ground on Blaney. I don't think Richmond's Blaney's strong suit by any means, but an average day for Blaney would only let Truex gain about half them points back in a race here. Maybe because I think Blaney will run a smart race, and he'll probably get a few stage points here and there, which will make it harder for Martin to chip away at it. But I think Martin can cut it in half. But when we get to Daytona, I could really see if we don't have a new winner. Where do we go after this? Watkins Glen. Who knows there? I mean, yeah, who knows? But I really think we could be going to Daytona with a 2-3 point difference between those two guys.
Could you imagine we go to Daytona, right? And these guys are separated by like 2 or 3 points, whatever you want to call it.
Ooh-wee.
And they have to race their asses off the whole time, and they're stage point racing. And then they spend their entire race doing that, and then Bubba or Corey or somebody wins that race, and it's all for naught. Like you just.
I mean, it could happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's that race in Daytona is going to be especially if we go there without anybody else winning. We're sitting at 15 winners, and them two are in a tight point race. You're looking at so many different scenarios of who, and Ross is right in there too with the point race battling for second. But you're looking at so many different scenarios of a new winner knocks both of them out. Then now the two of them are racing each other for a 3 or 4 point gap. And you could be 10 points ahead of the guy coming to the white and then end up, it could be a 10-point swing.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be nuts.
I'm talking for us. You tell me there's
a chance.
You got a chance.
Yeah, somehow, some way.
So if we go into Daytona and there's still
15.
no new winners and we win Daytona,
you're in.
Wouldn't that be ridiculously crazy?
Yeah, I mean it's not. I mean listen. This is whoever decided that this needed to be the cutoff race should get a raise because they're a genius.
I think we talked about it many times.
Yeah.
So the mailing address. What is it? 349.
I just think that the drama here is building up to something like we've never seen before. And I remember Jeremy Mayfield being in a must-win situation in the first year of the chase. For the Sprint Cup. It was either 03 or 04. And he's going into Richmond with a must-win situation, and he goes out and wins the race. And I'm not lying to y'all when I tell you this. It was hard then. It's even harder now because of the way the stages are and because of the way the cars are and because of how good these drivers are and because you're not practicing much. You're not getting to test. It's harder to win right now than it's ever freaking been in the Cup Series. And it's showing up.
Yeah, and a lot of it, honestly, it's probably, I know it was some car back then too, but with all the horsepower and you could.
There were ways to be faster.
Yeah, you could. There was definitely more tools in the toolbox to use than there is now.
Yeah.
So with it really being, except if we were to get another first-time winner, with it being like a Ford versus Toyota with Ryan and Martin, are there team orders or manufacturer orders when it comes to somebody like a Bubba leading into these races where he could win too?
No, I don't think so because Bubba, it might be team ordered maybe on the side of Denny or Kyle that are already locked in that could help maybe. As talking about a place like Daytona really because there's nowhere else where you're going to be able to help. So maybe them guys can commit. We saw Denny, I think it was last year at Talladega. He committed to the back of the 20 car all day long. He was trying to push him to a win to advance him in the playoffs. And you could see that at Daytona, these guys, if Martin needs a win, these guys could rally behind him and do all they can to keep him in front of them and push him and maximize his day. But yeah, like somebody like Bubba, there's not going to be many team orders because Bubba needs to win himself. Bubba's trying to knock Martin out of the playoffs essentially. So yeah, on our side, there wouldn't be any team orders, but I could definitely see that from the Cindric and Joey helping Ryan to all the JGR guys trying to help Martin.
But here's the thing, man. Denny Hamlin is a modern-day Dale Earnhardt. He's the only guy in the field that is driving his car for a team owner and who also has other entries in the race that he owns. Obviously,
you're talking ownership-wise because he was way too nice to Ross Pocono to be Dale Senior.
I don't mean Dale. I don't mean let me rephrase that.
The situation.
2311 is the modern-day DEI. Let me rephrase that
Fair.
in that sense. And if you go back and you watch in the blink of an eye Michael Waltrip's documentary, he talks about Dale Sr. sitting down with Dale Jr. and himself, Michael, and the three of them agreeing to work together at these plate races. And then we saw what DEI's success was over the years with Michael and Dale Jr. working together. Like, I think Denny is in a situation, and I think Denny's smart enough to know this. When he gets to Daytona, who needs a win more, him or Bubba Wallace? Bubba. I think it's Bubba Wallace. Yeah, and sure. I think he's smart enough to know that if it comes down to 3 laps to go, 2 laps to go, 1 lap to go, and you're in a position to go for the win or help your driver get the win, man, I think he's smart enough to know he's got to push Bubba Wallace to the win.
What if Martin's up there too?
If I'm Denny Hamlin, I know who I'm pushing.
And you talk about like not team orders notwithstanding, if you're Denny Hamlin, do you want Martin Truex in the playoffs?
No,
You
I
know
want
what
Bubba Wallace.
You know what I mean? Or anybody.
Because
really.
I'd rather race against Bubba. No offense to Bubba Wallace, no offense to you guys, but I would rather race against Bubba for a championship and think I can beat him than I would Martin Truex Jr.
Yeah.
And Bubba, I will tell you this, man. Bubba knows how to be around these plate races too. So
100%.
Daytona is getting more interesting by the week.
He's gotten really good. Freddie's gotten really good at calling those races. You've won truck race and cup race in plate racing.
Should have won an Xfinity race.
Should have won an
Your
Xfinity
guy
race.
wrecked me.
I mean, there's an asterisk.
1,000,000%.
There's an asterisk on the cup win. You had to
Oh,
get, that
yeah.
rain
That's
had to
bull.
help
You got the money. You kissed a girl. You got the points.
I blocked your ass. That's all that matters.
It
But
rained.
no,
You're
like
lucky.
I literally look at Denny
Sitting
Hamlin
duck.
2311 as a modern day DI. Nobody else is doing it. He is. He's doing it well.
It's time for you to sell your home and make that big move. Let our friends at OfferPad remove all the worry and hassle. Get started today at OfferPad.com.